I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, if you are looking for a trilogy of romantic thrillers this holiday season to read yourself or perhaps to give away as a gift, look no further than the work of KLS Fuerte. She has written 3 amazing novels that are part of a series. They're called Never Saw You Coming, Now Live With That, and Fight to Fly. And we are delighted to have KLS Fuerte, better known as Kiki to us here on the Spotlight Network, joining us here today on Spotlight. Kiki, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much, Logan, for inviting me. It's really thrilling.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I really enjoyed the adventures of Beatrice and Edward. Let's fill the audience in a little bit about what your books are all about.
Well, it's a love story, but it's not a pink love story because that's not what I write. It's a love story with suspense, with high and lows, like yin and yang, good and bad. This is what I like using to play with the fiction. So my main characters are Beatrice and Edward. They are young, they fall in love, they get married, and then Beatrice discovers that Edward's personality has a lot of shade. And it's really hard to cope with someone that you love who can also be horrible to you. So yeah, a love story with a lot of suspense, a lot of red flags. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can imagine that. Now, was this based on your real life experience? Tell me a little bit about how you developed these characters.
Right. That is an interesting question because when I first started writing, it was writing about me and my life experience. And then I reached a point where I couldn't write anymore about me because I was finding it too difficult. It was just making me too vulnerable. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I put the writing away on the side for about 7 years. I didn't touch it, but I wanted to write. The need was there. So I went back and I decided to shift everything and write fiction. So the characters, yes, they have bits of me in them. I created them, but it's first of all a fictional story.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think all writers kind of use pieces of themselves, pieces
Yes.
of their experiences, an amalgamation of all the people that they know to create their characters, and that's what makes them real.
Yes, absolutely. And that is what I wanted. Toni Morrison, my queen, she used to say, you want to write a story, if it hasn't been written, you write it yourself and start with yourself. So this is what I did. But what I really wanted to do was to make the readers relate to the characters. So for me, it is a fiction story, but it has to feel real. And that's the trick that I find fun to play with.
Exactly. And there's some life lessons in there as well. Beatrice doesn't really know what she's getting into or turns a blind eye to it. Tell us a little bit about that aspect.
Well, Beatrice, she is a young woman from Martinique, from the Caribbean. She travels to the UK to study, to learn how to become a teacher, and so on. She qualifies. So she is very ambitious, but she's also so romantic. She's looking for love, like most of us. I look for love in every day in everything that I do, make decisions with love, good or bad. It's still made with love. So that's fun.
Exactly.
So Beatrice is looking for love, and she has this idea about what her Prince Charming looks like. And her best friend read her the cards and said to her just before she starts her teaching career that she's going to meet this guy who's very handsome, who's very clever, hardworking. So when she meets Edwards, she has this list in her head and she's thinking, he's handsome, he's hardworking. Yeah, it must be him.
Right.
And
He
so
checked all the boxes.
exactly, he checked all the boxes so that when he presented red flags to her with his anger management issues, for example, she turns a blind eye because no, he can only be good to me. And, she ends up marrying and it just gets worse and worse. It's traumatic. Poor girl.
Exactly. I think what I also love about your books are the different locations where they're set. Tell the audience a little bit about the
Well,
backdrop of all this.
sure. We start in London. And when things get a little bit too spicy, too hot and tense between Edward and Beatrice, after he proposed to her, she needs to recoup. She needs to recharge herself. So she goes and she travels to the Caribbean. She travels to Martinique, where she can be bathed with love from her family at Christmas and so on. And then she returns to London. But in the second book, with other characters who come into play, Beatrice is going to travel to Paris, and I am from Paris, so I had to add a chapter especially for Paris, a romantic chapter with Beatrice as a friend. I mean, I won't tell you too much, you have to read.
Exactly. I think that's wonderful, though. A book should bring you on a journey, not only a journey of personal adventure and personal development, but also a journey of different locations. Learn about London, learn about Paris, learn about the Caribbean, picture yourself in those settings. And I think that's what's great about your books, is that they transport you to these different great locations and put you in Beatrice's position a little bit, and make you realize all of the things that she's going through. And she's got a heart that's yearning for love, just like all of us seem to have a heart that's yearning for love.
And but I have been giving to Beatrice a story which is quite tragic with a lot of tension. But in book 3, the end of the trilogy, Fight to Fly, I need Beatrice to fly, metaphorically and literally. I won't tell you about the ending because I'm still working on it, but I'm going to give a good ending to Beatrice. She's looking for love. I need her to find love, but it might be a surprising love to you guys.
Absolutely. Well,
so many different kinds of loves that you can find.
I think the fans will be glad that the series continues. What's it been like not writing 1, but actually 3 books based on these characters?
I surprise myself every day. Let's say that as a kid, I used to write a lot of stories and win writing competitions and write the school plays for the end of term shows. And my friends would perform in them and I would direct them. And they used to think, oh, you're going to be a writer. And I used to say, yes, I'll be a writer. So I did book 1 and I couldn't stop there. So I carried on with book 2. And book 3 I'm working on. And it's like, oh my God, I'm doing this. I'm writing a trilogy. I'm doing it. Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, it feels great. It feels like you're going on the journey yourself. There's a sense of accomplishment. It's getting lost in that world that you're creating. You're probably not going to want the journey to end after 3 books. You probably, in many ways, want it to continue.
Probably. I just have to see how happy I make Beatrice, or am I going to make her do some naughty things again to take her on a book number 4? I don't know yet, but I definitely will give you 3 books. That's great. For sure. Well, so when I finish writing the 3rd one, then maybe a 4th one will come up.
That sounds wonderful. Well, it's a wonderful ride. Let me just ask you this. If you were to create a movie based on these books, who would you have star in the movie?
It's all in my head. So I would have Beatrice as Sarah Martin.
Okay.
She's a French speaker. Oops, my chair is pushing me away. Sarah Martin. Beatrice, I thought about Hugh Grant. Edward, about Hugh Grant. Then there's the character of Lawrence, mysterious colleague of Beatrice, who appears in book 2. I would have Idris Elba playing this character.
Great.
I think he would be perfect.
I think so too. I think that's wonderful casting. I think the books would easily translate into a film or a TV series. So hopefully people in Hollywood are listening. You can learn more about this wonderful series of books, Never Saw You Coming, Now Live With That, and Fight to Fly, all written by KLS Fuerte. And there she goes, got the book right there in her hand.
Number one and number
there's the
two.
other one, and the third is going to be completed very, very soon. You can find out more on her website, klsfuerte.com. It's right there on your screen. Kiki, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Great pleasure. Thank you, Logan.
It's been a tremendous pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.